So I'm here with David in the studio for Adam, and you might have heard a little bit about the Orion SolarWinds have been in the news for a while, and we thought it'd be a good idea just to do a bit of a quick deep dive. It will actually be a fast deep dive. Okay, see how quick we can do this, because this is actually very, very interesting and a very, very good case to look at. But David, let's talk a little bit about SolarWinds. What actually just took place here?
Yeah, SolarWinds is a company that offers services to Fortune 500s, governments around the world, that offers them a central way to manage all kinds of devices. So it's like the heartbeat of a nervous system is effectively what the SolarWinds Orion product is. And what happened was that some attackers realized the sweetness of that little honeypot, as it were. Yeah. Not a real play honeypot, but a real life honeypot. That if they could somehow get into that system, then via that nervous system, they could reach far and wide. And so that's what the attackers did. They found a way to get their own source code into the real published source code, so that as people updated their Orion software, along with it came a signed bit of malware code. And that's how 18,000 plus locations that did get the update did actually get that infection.
And there's a lot of guys. These aren't just small little dinky players, right? These are Fortune 500 companies. So we're talking about guys with proper security. Well, just look at this list. Some of the named people affected by this, these are not small little beginner players. Like just look at this list that ZDnet put in their article here. So of course, FireEye, which was the first to come out with this, U.S. Treasury Department, and that's huge. U.S. Department of Commerce and National Telecom, Department of National Health, National Institutes. CISA was hit by it. The DHS was hit by it. That's Homeland Security. That's huge. And of course, the U.S. Department of State, right? So these aren't just beginner guys. So David, how does something like this actually happen today still, right? What was the method? What actually went on here?
Well, the method is possible. First of all, it's made possible because we still are not thinking proactively secure as a society. We still think proactively as, let's get something to work. And so the attackers just had to say, okay, so if we put some effort into writing some code that's malicious, how do we get widest spread possible?
Sure.
Well, the widest spread possible would if we can get into many organizations from the inside.
Right.
Of course, I'm speculating now, but obviously this is the thought process that went on in the attacker's mind.
Yeah.
And if they don't have a moral compass by which to guide them, that they're going to put their effort into something that will be about stealing from someone, then what's to keep them from taking a path that says, oh, well, one of the tools that's commonly used amongst businesses of all sizes is the central nervous system. This product called Orion, because when Orion gets installed in a network, the network administrators give it usernames and passwords and device names, routers, switches, gateways, everything gets into this one central place. And so that's how it made sense that they get into that system, because then with one extraction, they can now exfiltrate all these credentials and a large amount of inside network information that someone would need in order to do a very quiet, a very stealthy recon of an inside network. Once they have that information, then they can do a way more stealthy network attack that isn't a wide spray approach, where the more they spray, the more they do, the more likely they are to be noticed. So this was a stealthy way. It really was amazing that they actually lasted the 6 months. That's how stealthy they were.
But this is a multi-stage attack, like the classic, let's drop onto there, and once the dropper's there, now you're looking around, or lay low for a little bit, look around a little bit, and then from there on start getting payloads, and then go to the next stage, and the next stage, and the next stage, right? That's right. Do I understand that correctly?
That is correct. It always starts with, how do we get some code on the inside of the network without detection? And then how long can we have it do work on behalf of the attacker without being shut down, without being noticed?
Right.
And so that multi-stage attack always, at some point, relies on the code reaching back to the attacker to say, here you are, here's a bit of honey I have for you, right? And that is the problem, is we still have a traditional thought process in almost organizations of all sizes that says, we will allow everything to communicate as long as what it's trying to do is not already known to be bad.
Right.
That's the fundamental flaw that made this still possible, along with the flaws that allowed it the code to get into SolarWinds. But we can't, you and I and all of our clients, we can't prevent software vendors' workflow from having better quality control.
Right.
What we can do today is we can say, if this is on my network, these are my rules.
Right.
And you are not talking outside unless that outside is vetted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say it was then reaching out to a domain, or there's multiple domains, I guess, that FireEye released of where they're going. How would the philosophy that Adam uses, how would that actually prevent an attack like this? Can you explain that to me?
Yes. So the philosophy of ADAMnetworks would not have done anything about sharpening the developers at SolarWinds. It would not have done anything about the clients getting an Orion update. But where Adam 1 comes into play is the moment that Orion malicious update activates and it wants to tell the attacker, here I have some data. That's when Adam 1 says, nope, that destination, we don't know anything about it. In fact, we don't know that we know all of those domain names yet that it was reaching out to, but we do know of some. So even if FireEye released a bunch of backdoor beacon rules, and so you can actually look at all of these. So we've tested every single one of these when they come out. So here's one, for example. It reaches out to incomeupdate.com. And if you were to look at your logs, if it had been used, you would have seen that. And so, for example, if we were to open that up on our website here and try to go to incomeupdate.com, even if we attempted to, it would come back and say the unblocked request has been rejected. Not that the user would have experienced the web browser link, but more likely behind the scenes, something like this was being done, like Database Galore is another one. And then that's where you want to be able to see that it says connection refused. So the software behind the scenes would have reached out and no user would have seen anything on their screen. But this is where Adam 1 says, nope, you're failing to connect there. That connection is refused.
Right. Okay, so let's say, so a client that's now protected behind Adam 1, let's say they did get the dropper from the SolarWinds update. That is on their system.
Right.
But now it's trying to make a connection out. That connection is simply just refused.
That's right.
So that's where the attack, so it did get onto the system, but it couldn't go to stage 2.
Right. That's right. So the attackers literally got as far as taking their thief and dropping them via chopper into the compound. And now he's about to leave with a bag of stolen goods.
He's about to radio out and say, hey, send the next piece of equipment. This is what we need to do here. That's what he's doing, right? But he can't radio out.
He can't even radio out, never mind taking out the data. He can't do anything.
Right.
So there's this big tinfoil wrapped around the compound he can't get out.
Okay.
And therefore, it gives the clients, the protected Adam 1 user, time to detect these kinds of things.
Right.
And in any case, if it's weeks or months or years, that device cannot reach out. It just sits there trapped, waiting to be found and to be discovered. Unlike FireEye and all of these other infected clients, they were able to reach out. We just don't know how far they got with how much data.
And I think it's one of those things to speak about the idea of a next generation appliance or something that is looking for patterns and continuously looking for hashes to say, oh, this is malware or this is a pattern of malware. But look, okay, so let's say it sees that. That's still not fast enough. Real time is not fast enough because you have already been infected. This attack is already going on. So there's a lot of value in that because now you can see, okay, something is going on. Let's try to clean up the mess. But wouldn't it be better if nothing could go on in the first place?
That's right.
And you have, and then okay, so something bad is in there, but bad wasn't allowed to do the bad thing.
That's right.
And then you can clean that out, but the bad thing never was allowed to happen, right?
That's right. That's right. We will simply never get to a point where we can absolutely prevent something bad from coming into the network. Mm-hmm. But what we do have a mechanism of is to make sure that that bad thing doesn't lead to exfiltration,
yes.
doesn't lead to the next stage of an attack, that
Right.
that's where it's trapped. And every piece of malware at some point relies on that connection out. Mm-hmm. So we can absolutely stop 100% of command and control based malware, which is
that
almost all
uses,
malware that is like that today.
Yeah, so it will essentially stop 100% of attacks that are using that method, which is the classic method, mm-hmm. which should not be working today, but it is working today.
That's right.
The good news is everyone that's already behind ADAM1 protection, set up properly, you've already been protected. So the SolarWinds breach did not affect you. So congratulations. That feels good.
That's right.
Yeah.